In the beginning, there was no sound, only the void. And God said, "Let there be sound."
Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you.
And the voice of man rang out, and voiceover was born. And God said, "It is good." Talkin' Voiceovers with Rick Sellers and Wes McCraw. The big podcast where we talk all things voiceover. And now, Rick Sellers and Wes McCraw.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode number 9 of Talkin' Voiceovers. On today's episode of Talkin' Voiceovers, we have a very special guest. Gina Grad is with us. Gina is one busy actor, voice actor, and radio and podcast personality. You can hear Gina daily on the Adam Carolla Show podcast. She's been in radio for many, many years, and she's voiced a ton of video game characters. You've heard her in video games such as Street Fighter IV, The Last Remnant, Transformers Dark of the Moon, Syndicate, Ultimate Street Fighter, and Valkyrie Profile 2, and on television anime series such as Technolize, Paranoid Agent, and Ergo Proxy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Gina Grad. Gina Grad, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Wonderful. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, and I'm so glad that you were able to make time to do this. It's going to be a fun interview.
Me too. And please ignore all the Amazon shit that we're hiding from my stepson.
Oh, we all have Amazon boxes laying around, you know?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are you ready to begin? It's pretty early in the morning for you.
Let's do it. You know, it is because I'm a lazy piece of shit, but I'm ready.
All right. Well, I have to tell you, I'm a huge fan of the Adam Carolla Show. I listen every day.
Wonderful.
So I hear you every day, and I love it. You're terrific. You're a great addition to the show.
Thank you so much. Can you believe it's been almost 8 years?
I
It
cannot.
doesn't feel like that.
That's crazy.
I remember the other gal, Rosen?
Allison, yeah.
Rosen, and she was good, but I have to say, this is off the record, you're a much better addition. You can do lots of character voices, you do funny impressions, and all that, for me, is a treat and a treasure, and I love it.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Are you ready to begin officially?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's get introduced here. I am Rick Sellers. I'm the voice talent. I'm sure you've heard me on TV many times as the voice of the general. With my pal Shaq. I love you, man. I love you too, Shaq. And this is Mr. Wes McCraw.
Hi, Gina. I'm Wes McCraw, engineer, musician, and audio producer, and partner with Rick in many endeavors over the years.
All around good guy.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, by the way.
My pleasure. Can we please talk about your effortlessly badass haircut?
Oh, man. Really? Okay. Yeah, let's talk
That
about
is
it.
fabulous.
He is a silver fox.
It's about being lazy is what it is. I had to go with a style where I don't have to mess with it, you know?
I respect it. That's why I had my hair straightened.
Well, it looks great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, let's just also put it out there that if there's anything said that you don't want to air, we're going to edit this later. If there's like any NDAs or anything that it slips and you don't want to get in trouble, or you just say something off color, we'll think it's hilarious. But if you want it off the pod, we'll just
do a podectomy.
Thank you. Off color is my middle name, but the NDA, boy, are you smarter than me for thinking of that. Thank you.
We just don't want to get you in trouble.
You got to be careful because if you're working on a video game, per se, and you happen to mention it or mention the character or the name of it, and it's not ready to be introduced, that can be a problem, and you may not work for them again.
Sure can.
Yeah,
okay.
We're not here to cost you a gig.
No. We want to help you and let the world know how talented Gina Grad is.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I know this answer, but I want to go ahead and ask you, where were you born?
I was born. Actually, I wonder, you know what? I don't mean to be a jerk because I hate when people do this, but I'm curious. What is your answer?
My answer is Kansas.
No, that's why I asked.
Really?
Oh, my God. I looked it up. I thought I had the right answer.
Bad intel.
I know. I just had a feeling because I'm a Kansas girl through and through. I am from Kansas. That is my home. But technically, I was born in Portland, Oregon, which my dad would never let me forget. He thought it was the funniest thing. So my brother was born in Texas. My parents were born in Chicago. And he wanted me to know from an early age that I'm special because I was the only one in the family born north of the 45th parallel, whatever that means.
Okay. I'm sure it sounds like a World War II reference.
It sounds important.
So technically, I was born in Portland, but I have no memory of it. And the first time I ever went back was last mid-fall winter for an Adam Carolla show, and I got to see the house that I was there.
I remember you talking about it on the show.
Yeah, and that was a big deal for me because I had never been back in all of that time. So technically, I'm from Oregon, but I'm a Kansas girl.
Very good.
Okay, so bad intel, but not too far off.
It's the internet. That's what we do. We clear things up.
It's so wrong. The internet's so wrong most of the time.
You would think that it would be, this pristine wealth of knowledge and information. And it is if you ask the right questions and you look at the right place. But there's also a lot of things that are patently wrong and false. So
this comes up on the Adam Carolla Show almost every day.
I heard it.
Adam goes, you think with the invention of the internet, everything would be right. And I tell him, no, it's just a collection of dummies giving their version of information. You're going down the wrong path, Carolla.
It gave voice to all the dummies. That's basically what happened. So you're in LA now, though.
Yeah, I've been here for almost 20 years.
Awesome. Well, that was going to be my next question is how long you've been there. And did you always know that you wanted to do voice acting and be on radio and personality?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So radio it was sort of the family business because my dad was a sports anchor, a sports announcer. So I thought growing up, well, that's just what dads do. That's boring and that's for old men and I have no interest. I'm a theater girl.
Right.
So I did community theater and I love theater. And in my spare time, I would memorize monologues and my 16 bars of songs for all the local auditions. That's all I cared about. And I went to school for theater and I moved to New York for theater because old dads do radio and nobody else. And then I started realizing simultaneously, I wasn't that good of an actor and I wasn't that excited about speaking other people's words. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, maybe my dad's onto something.
Yeah, dad's pretty cool after all.
Yeah. So I got into it after thinking like after all these years, maybe he knew a thing or two about a thing or two. And it wasn't easy. People, like to cite nepotism and I go, oh, let me tell you about the silver platter of radio that was handed to me.
Yeah.
So I worked in retail for many years, fantasizing every morning about swerving my car into a light post because maybe I'd get in an accident, wouldn't have to go in that day, and I could spend some hours at urgent care. And finally, I couldn't take it anymore, and I called my dad crying, and I was young, and I said, I only listened to our local station, KLSX. That was our talk radio station. It was FM, like jock talk, all day. I was obsessed. I said, is there anything you can do to get me an interview? I'll do anything they ask. I'll drive the van. I'll pass out stickers. I don't care. So he got me an interview because he worked upstairs at the sports station, got me an interview with the station. I came in a suit. I brought a briefcase. They thought I was just a first-class a-hole.
Wow.
And my glamorous job was answering phones from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. on weekends for the public affairs show. Wow. And that was the silver platter I was given.
Yeah, right.
Radio.
You really started at the bottom and worked your way up.
But I loved it. What
did you do in retail before that? I have to know.
I worked in men's suiting when I moved here. So long story short, when I moved to New York, I went to a temp agency and the first job they gave me and the only job I took from them was to temp as a receptionist at Hugo Boss Corporate.
Okay. And
they were great. It was fun. But I moved here. I didn't have a job. I was a mess. I didn't know what to do. And so some of the guys from corporate were here building a new store and said, let's take our girl Gina to lunch. We miss her. And they said, honey, you need a job. And they put me in at the mall over at the Beverly Center, and I loved it. And then they moved me to Rodeo, and I realized I was really good at selling the suit, not so good with the follow-up, picking up the hems and the touch-ups. There are people that are career salespeople, career men suiting, and they are badass. I am not among the elite. I needed to get out.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Well, Gina, I primarily know you from the Adam Carolla Show. I'm a huge fan. I already told you. I listen to the podcast every day, and I love it. You, Adam, and Bald Brian make a great team. You're very entertaining, and I love the show.
Thank you.
It's just great to hear you and see you, and to actually hear you talking is like pretty strange. It's like, wow, I'm talking to Gina Grad.
Thank you so much. Yeah, with my Amazon crap behind me.
He's
very glamorous.
He's totally fanboying out.
I'm fanboying out right now.
Well, I am so happy to be here.
Great. And I've heard you do some great impressions on the show. I know you do Sarah Palin. I've heard you do Robin Quivers and Nancy Grace, one of my faves. Who else do you do?
Oh, my God. It's so funny you should ask, because I just put my new demo together. So let me think who's on it. The Nancy Grace, you heard the birth of that on the air. I didn't have any thoughts about Nancy Grace. He just started playing the tape, and I just wanted to start mimicking her immediately because she's amazing. But I like to do I like to do Jennifer Tilly every now and then.
I've heard you do Tilly.
She's so sexy, and I love her voice. Something that doesn't come up very often is like a very poor man's Katharine Hepburn in her later years.
Let's hear a little bit. I do an older Katharine Hepburn too. Let me hear yours.
Are we going to Hepburn off?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have dueling Hepburns.
Of course, yeah, I'd like to hear your version of Katharine Hepburn. Go ahead and bobble your head.
Your Katharine Hepburn is much better than mine, but
I don't agree at all. And you're much prettier.
Oh, thank you, aren't you a love? That is so funny. Now that she's back in the news and she has changed her voice immensely, she's really dropped the facade. I now do a Britney Spears, but we haven't really explored that a lot on the show.
You're talking about the vocal fry thing she does? Oh my God.
It's the reason I thought of it is because she has a little bit of Katharine Hepburn in her now.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
hello. It's very shaky, and she's very direct now, and she's not trying to please anyone, but it does sound like somebody's slightly strangling her, and I love her.
I hear it now.
Well, I didn't know you had a character demo. You're going to have to email it to me. I'll email it I'll just email it to you, and then you can email me back your character demo.
I'd love to.
Yeah, because you never know. I do casting for American Greetings for a lot of their product that has audio, and it doesn't pay a ton, but it is fun to do. And if there's something that you'd be good for, I'd love to have you do it.
That is one of those jobs that, as Adam would say, I should be paying you to say, oh, go visit your local Hallmark and go visit me on the shelf would be an absolute bucket list dream. I will send that to you immediately.
Great. Well, in this case, it's American Greetings. I have to give them props and credit there.
American Greetings, you know what? Hallmark, fair.
Yes.
Hallmark, out with the old, in with the new. American Greetings.
There you go.
That's right.
Chef's kiss.
That's right. It is a fun thing when you've worked on a project. I've, Rick's done tons of voice stuff and cast tons of voice stuff for that and toys and cards and all kinds of stuff. And I've done some music and sound effects and things for those. It's weird to go down the aisle and target someplace and hit a button and oh yeah, I recorded that in my basement and here it is now on the shelf.
People don't understand how not fancy we are. Yeah. My recording studio is this old cheap mattress stuff that we used to put on kids' beds, like before the egg crates. That's our sound deadener. We are not fancy people in the voiceover industry.
True. You do what you have to do,
That's exactly right.
So tell us about your work in video games. You've done a lot of that.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because when you were saying, to go down the grocery store aisle and hear yourself, my first thought was, it's so much fun now to have a stepson who, as Adam would say, has come online. He's almost 7 years old and he kind of knows what's what. And that he loves the arcade. And he'll go and play Street Fighter as Rose. And it never made sense because I got that in the most old school way. Back in the day, so excited every weekend, buying my Backstage West and putting my packages together with my headshot and my resume and my CD.
Yep.
And I would send those out just every weekend. That was the most exciting day of my week. And I got called in for Rose, and I've done a ton of work with them since. And that's the old school way. There was I don't know
pre-internet, really. Yeah, you had to physically mail your demo as a CD or a cassette and hope that somebody would check it out and listen to it and give you a call.
And 9.5 times out of 10, they didn't.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you get these gigs that have just sort of lasted through literally decades. So now he'll go to the arcade, and Andy, my husband, will make him play as Rose because it's funny. And at first he wasn't putting it together, and now he says like, "Oh," he calls me lady. It's a long story. lady, the scarf didn't work. Like, I need to go tell management that Rose's scarf wasn't working appropriately for him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is the company that produced Street Fighter? Do you remember the name?
It's so funny because at this point I'm on such a first name email basis with my contact that he doesn't even use. I don't even have the professional signature.
Oh, okay. I want to say Activision, but I don't know for sure.
No, I don't think it's Activision, but I can look it up in live time.
Okay. Yeah, let's find out who did it.
I'm not a gamer, but I did play the crap out of some Street Fighter, especially back in the day. It's like one of 2 or 3 games on my iPad right now. I don't know.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it is. And it's cool. I like it.
Great.
Well, you've done a couple of games here. You did Street Fighter 4, The Last Remnant, Transformers Dark of the Moon, Syndicate, Ultra Street Fighter, Valkyrie Profile 2. That's by the way, go ahead.
Capcom.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And now I remember seeing the logo when I played the game.
We'll edit out my incorrect Activision.
Sorry, Capcom.
And the fact that I had to look it up, we all apologize.
That'll come out of the pod right there.
We'll remove it.
We knew what Capcom was right away.
Yes.
And we're all huge fans.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'll let you reset.
Yeah. And you voiced Carrie. Who did you do in Transformers Dark of the Moon?
You know, this is a very inside baseball question because I don't remember. So I was probably there for Street Fighter.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where I say, hey, hang out.
Can you do this too?
We have a couple. Exactly. So when I looked at my IMDb list, I was impressed. I go, when the hell did that happen? But as you know, a lot of times they'll keep you after and ask, would you be interested in this?
Yeah, we have another
this?
project. Would you want to try this? Well, it's interesting that you did the Transformers. I've done Transformers electronic toys for Hasbro for probably 20 years. So anytime they need Peter Cullen or the voice of Optimus Prime, they hire me to imitate him. So I come in and do my Autobots transform and roll out.
You are way more in the rarefied air than I am. When I get cast, I'm always a robot or a TV anchor. So hats off to you.
Either way, you're getting paid, and that's what counts. So
Rick does a great Peter Cullen. We actually had a gig with Hasbro where we had to do a remote recording session with Peter Cullen.
Out in L.A. at Dave and Dave Recording.
He was out there. We were here. And
wow.
I don't know how it happened. Rick hooked it up with Hasbro some kind of way, and we were sort of tasked with producing this thing with Peter Cullen
and directing him. And I didn't say shit.
He's asking
trying to direct Peter Cullen.
He's looking at it or doing the thing, and he's looking at us. And he's like, "What do you guys think? Is that okay?" I'm like, "You're Peter Cullen. I mean, just do it. I'm not going to tell you anything." But it was a great experience, so it was cool. He was a super nice guy, too, just really nice and total pro.
He must have been probably 80 at the time, and he went through, it was a 2-hour session, and he knocked out all the copy, no break, no nothing.
That's so awesome. I love that he didn't go full Orson Welles on you.
No, thank God.
Good.
Yeah, that would have been scary. Or William Shatner or any of those guys.
Yes. Or Colonel Sanders. Have you heard that one?
I've never heard the Colonel Sanders get crazy, but I've heard Wells on the several spots, fresh like frozen peas.
Oh, yeah. The Wells one is awesome, but Google the actual Colonel Sanders.
Oh, wow.
He did not have time in this booth. It was very funny.
I think Casey Kasem's another one, too. Have you heard his where he goes
up? Well, that's classic radio.
Yeah.
He's the king. I mean, and because, I'm no better. We've all done it. We've all accidentally hot mic'd ourselves, or we all say something we regret. And that's why I have all the time and patience in the world for these flubs, or, when the angry mob with torches goes after someone for misspeaking. I go, you know what? You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
By the way, I have this microphone and it's going to broadcast and simulcast to everyone in your community. Just go ahead and put that on your lapel and go about your day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have these conversations before we start recording. We're like, okay,
anything
get it all out
in the
now.
system you have to get out before we
Get it out
recording
now.
because
all the inappropriate, un-PC stuff.
I will say all sorts of nasty things, and I have to contain myself. So
let's just say Rick does some creative and imaginative impressions before we get started on these things.
Yes, always.
I'm also going to need those emailed to me.
Okay.
So on the auditions you go on, are you doing mostly for on-camera work or voice acting these days?
Almost all voice.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love being in the booth. I love not wearing people clothing.
Me too.
I love...
You can't see from the waist down. Rick has no pants on right now.
I don't.
So.
You know what? Then you're in good company because I'm in my jammy shorts.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I've done a little bit of on camera, and I'll do, web series, things like that. But in general, I'm just so happy doing it the way that you and I do it, that we do it
In the booth.
Yeah. And I have to make my peace with the fact that the Adam Carolla Show is video, taped, and kids don't know what videotape is, but it's videoed every day. It's recorded. So, and I forget all the time. I make faces. I'm in my pajamas. My hair is a mess. And I forget that it's not just the three of us in the studio anymore. We've been recorded for years, and I never think about it.
I think that's part of the charm is that you're just yourself. You're all three just kind of doing your thing.
And I prefer to hear that too. I just want to hear people having a conversation,
Yeah, I don't think there, and I've been there over 7 years, almost 7.5 years. And I don't think there's ever been a time, nothing comes to mind that anything's ever been edited out, that I've asked for anything. I mean, what you see is what you get, much to our detriment. I don't know that anyone's ever asked anything to be edited out.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I know you were doing a podcast called Discussing Depression with Casey Morgan. Are you still doing that one?
No, I was a guest on his show.
Oh,
and
you're a guest.
I loved doing that. I also did one. I don't know if you're familiar with Mental Illness Happy Hour. I did that many years ago, and I loved it. The reason I bring it up, because I'm very proud of myself, must have been a slow week because the AV Club gave me Best Guest that episode, because I'm just really honest about that stuff. I think it's more normal now, but it wasn't.
There was a stigma, but now everybody has some issue, and they're more willing to talk about it.
And I've said that on the air before. It's like I could sit here and fold my arms and say, these, get off my lawn. These young kids today don't know how good they have it. But I'm actually happy for them. I mean, I was clinically depressed and had generalized anxiety disorder and missed weeks and weeks of school and never left my house. And this was a very deeply private and shameful thing. And now you can talk about it. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Well, it's surprising to me because you seem so happy and personable, and I love your laugh. It is kind of Robin Quivers-esque, too. Give us a Robin laugh.
Oh, you are so funny. And I love the way you compare me to Robin because she is one of my favorites. Now, her voice is changing as she gets older, but hopefully mine will age with her eventually.
That is a terrific impression.
I'm a huge Stern fan. I've listened since
Same.
the 80s, and so I'm and you're right. She does sound different now than.
There's more. I mean, I can only say this stuff to you because it'll make more sense. There's more air in her output, and I'm not really there yet, and I've been working on it, but I prefer my 90s Robin because that's kind of where I've landed.
I think that's what we're most familiar with, so that's probably the go-to way to do that impression.
So we talk a lot on the show here, since it's a voiceover-based show, about the importance of improv and training and that sort of thing. Have you done much improv? I mean, you just off-the-cuff sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's funny because I could say, well, I had to do it in college because, that was part of getting a theater degree, or, and I did Groundlings right when I moved here. I've done a couple rounds of Upright Citizens Brigade, but nothing prepares you for being on the Adam Carolla Show. It is trial by fire. Mm-hmm. In fact, I would say we don't do the same kind of improv that you're taught at like a UCB.
Yes, and
Yeah, well, that's about where it ends, at least from my opinion. I always think of what they do as chess, and I'm not a very good chess player. Adam's is faster, and there's just a rhythm to it that I learned on the air, and it was very, very scary at first, and now the water is a little warmer, and we just kind of jump in with him.
Yeah. Well, you're very quick. He's also extremely quick,
very quick-witted and funny. Off the cuff stuff, and it's
and your laughing doesn't hurt a bit because it just makes it more interesting to listen to, and it's like a laugh track for television in the old days when the sitcoms had a laugh track.
But it's genuine though.
But yours is genuine.
That's the thing, because there are times with him, if you hear me, breathe into the mic or guffaw under the table, it's because I can't stop it. It's like it's coming out either way.
I've heard you cough a couple of times. It's like you're trying to pull away from the mic, and I hear the cough, and I'm like,
well, they finally gave me a mute button that I've been asking for years.
Oh.
It doesn't mute everything, but at least it puts a little distance between me and the mic, which I never had. And I used to. There was about a year. You may or may not remember. I was very sick.
I remember it.
And I had no mute button. And I was like, well, this is just how people are going to have to handle it. And people did not handle it. And I don't blame them. I was very sick. I ended up in the hospital. I ended up the ambulance came twice. I had like a inflamed larynx, undiagnosed. Wow. And it was brutal. But thank God those days are behind me.
Yeah. That's terrible.
Who's your agent? Do you have multiple or one or?
I've had the same one for years. I've been with Imperium 7 for many, many years. Now they've been standing on their own for years, but I believe at the beginning they were an offshoot of Abrams, some people that broke away over there. But yeah, I've been with them for years.
Are you doing any auditions for animated projects? Because your voice would lend itself well to animation. You have a June Foray quality to you. I've heard you a couple times, and I thought, I think she could do kind of some cool female characters. Is that something that you would like to do or are interested in?
That is all I want. That is it. And now I really only get sent out for video games, like I said, robots and TV anchors. But all my whole life's dream from early adulthood now is TV animation. And I just don't get set out on it very often, which bums me out because, I think that's kind of my sweet spot. The little secret is, and don't tell Capcom this, I'm not very good at video games.
I would disagree. I think you're a good actress and you are able to pull it off, but I know you could do some great cartoon character voices. So,
well, and I think that's the thing. Video games, people don't generally get this if they're not doing it professionally, but these days they don't want caricatures for video games.
It's more based in reality. Real. Yeah, you have to be a real person, very authentic, and the better actor you are, the better you're going to do in the video game world. So
absolutely.
Whereas animation is more crazy, wild characters, funky voices. You can do the characters. You have to be authentic in the moment, but if you can do a great character voice, it's gold.
Thank you for saying it so I didn't have to break it down. You're absolutely right. And I think of it like I love big, bright colors and to do video games, you have to mute all of it. You got to go into all the shades of gray, which is great. And I love the work, but I like big, bright colors and I don't get to do it very often. So I do it on the Adam Carolla Show instead.
Very good. Well, people are listening and I'm sure there are folks out there in the animation world that are hearing you going, I'd like to try her out as Screwy Squirrel or something else, Deputy Dog or what have you.
Thank you. I would love that. In fact, I just did a new animation demo and I didn't mean to. I meant to do the demo, but this voice that I did was supposed to be like, like a kind of like a kooky mom and, whatever. And I listened back and I was like, do I do a Fran from American Dad? I didn't realize that. And I thought, why aren't I voice matching her?
Well, Adam has a connection there with Seth. He might be able to get your demo over there. And who knows, you may end up on American Dad or,
From your mouth to God's ears. I love Family Guy. I was raised on Family Guy, but for my money, American Dad is the top of the heap.
I like both, and they are very irreverent, but that's what makes them so funny. And it's not intended for kids; it's for an adult audience. So, I love it. But hopefully you'll get over there and get some work done.
When you do a new voice, I've heard other voice actors say they try something, either they can do it or they can't. Do you have that, or can you get one and mold it and
practice it,
and get it to the point where you feel good about it?
That makes sense, because I definitely have to work on things and get the nuance, I think, like anybody does. But you try it, and there's either something that hooks it or there isn't. And I'll give you an example. I've kind of toyed with it. It's not great, but there's just someone, in your ear, you can't place it. Someone who I was sent out for whatever reason a few times to voice match, and I was not good at it. And I hear other people do it effortlessly. I can't do Jennifer Aniston. Okay. And so many people can. Her voice just doesn't land in my ear. Mm-hmm. And now I've been kind of working on it a little and whatever. But that's one of those voices that I couldn't get to click inside my head. Yeah. So either something clicks or it doesn't. Yeah,
I've heard people say, who are we interviewing? The voice
Larry Kenney, who was the voice of Lion-O on the Thundercats.
He said he tries a voice either in the first second, he's like, not going to happen, or yes, I can do that one. Just either you can do it or not.
I get it now, because as you've heard on the Adam Carolla Show, like I never did Nancy Grace or anything like that before. I just did it live as you heard it. And there was something about her voice that I just kind of knew I could imitate. But there are times where, like he said, Gina, do Adele. I'm like, do Adele? Okay. Like you're giving me way too much credit. So I ended up just doing sort of a throaty Cockney accent that satisfied him at the time. Sure. But right. I know I wasn't doing Adele.
It was a version of her.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about now, according to IMDb, you've done a couple of television programs. Is that the case, or is that information wrong?
It depends. One of them on there I love, because I've been trying to get them to remove it for years, and now I've convinced myself that I was a part of something about the Confederacy.
Well, here I have written down. I have it's TEHNOLYZE.
Yes, Technolize.
Technolize. Okay, is that still?
That was a Japanese animated miniseries.
Oh, very cool.
And I loved doing that. Yeah. Otherwise, there's something like the Daughters of the Confederacy, and I'm like, who is this person? But everything else is me.
So, how about Paranoia Agent?
These are all animated series.
And are they streaming on Amazon, I think?
That's a good question. At the time, this will date it a little bit. I believe these were box sets. So I would imagine they are. And in that world, because I don't pretend to be, I wasn't the customer that they were going for. These are people who are really into, Japanese animated series.
Hardcore anime. Yeah.
Yes. Such a specific genre.
It really is of animation. It's its own entity.
It is. It absolutely is. And I was told these series are hot. People can't get enough. And I go, I'm just so glad to hear that, because I'm not the person you're doing this for. So I just want to be in the booth.
There you go.
And I want to do my best to make sure that these people have a great experience. So I was told they were, people were really excited about them. And that was good enough for me.
Good. The last one I have is Ergo Proxy.
Another one. Yeah.
Is that also an anime series? Wow.
It was. And this was all, pretty much gotten through the same chain as Street Fighter. Okay. So again, the doors that it opened up were really amazing.
Very cool. Let's talk a little bit about commercial voiceover. Are you doing any commercial auditions, or have you done anything?
It's, for whatever reason, I just don't get sent out for them. I'm so glad we're talking now, because I just redid my commercial demo, my animation demo, my celebrity impression demo, my IVR, thank you for calling demo, my documentary narration demo, and I'm forgetting one. But I'm really ready to sort of re-energize all of the space.
Well, I'm going to have to listen to all of them. So I'll email you. Please email me the MP3s. We make demos here. We're Primo Demos. We produce demos for talent all over the world. And Demo production is a difficult task. It's like catching lightning in a bottle. You have to have the right talent, you have to have the right material, and then you have to put your heart and soul into it to make it great.
Yes. I was just talking about this with my husband, who, thank God, is in the industry. Otherwise, I would have dropped the very reasonable couple grand just to have this done appropriately. He's a audio engineer. I tell you, there's a spoonful of peanut butter for every morsel of chocolate out there that we ended up together. And we actually met doing this. So
cool.
Thank God. But yeah, it's very tough. And then people think, well, I did my job, just, produce it. Do you know what that means, honey? That means that certain voices have to be filtered. Everything needs to be compressed. They can't all sound like the same thing. Well, what audio are you going to use to make it sound really rich and full, like it's actually on TV? Or did you just want to talk into a microphone and then send it to somebody? Or is there going to be any background music? People don't understand what they're paying for.
True.
We spend days for a minute and a half. I
get it.
I mean, and because we put a lot of effort in, and to make it really come off and pop and stand out. And, people have said, well, I got some software. I can do this. I'm like, no, please don't waste your time.
Look, at this point right now where I'm not on terrestrial radio, I am 2 feet in the podcast industry. I've been doing this since 2009. I understand podcasting. I understand the desire and the very reasonable desire to say I can do it myself. But there are some things you need to leave to the professionals.
Exactly.
And I'm telling you, your demos don't mess around. People can tell.
You get one shot at a first impression. And if you're going in for surgery, you want a heart surgeon to go into you. You don't want to cut yourself open in an attempt to do your bypass.
Well, Rick, I've watched enough YouTube video tutorials to know how to do heart surgery. So thanks for your help, but I'm going to save myself a couple of ducats.
There you go.
Great analogy. Right.
And I was also going to ask, do you write your own material? Like for when you're on doing Nancy Grace, did you prepare that? Did you write it? It's just right out of your noodle.
Yeah.
All right, then you're a super talent, and you should be. You should be at the top of the heap in the animation world.
Thank you. So. There's no way or time to do it because this stuff is just sprung on us. And that's the joke. Like the better we make it, the more polished we make it sound, the more people think it's rehearsed. And I hope people who listen to the Adam Carolla Show know by now, there ain't no prep in this show.
Well, you're Fast and Furious. It's one of Adam's favorite franchises.
Well, even on our little goofy podcast here, we try to. I mean, we have a guideline for a script, but we really just want to have a conversation. The script is just here so there's no dead air in case we run out of something to talk about. But
absolutely,
it's much more nice to have it just be sort of flow and talk. And
I totally agree. Some people, I love questions. I do a ton of prep. Adam is just a genius and doesn't have to, but otherwise, it's like, well, then just email me the questions. I'd rather just chit chat with you.
Sure.
Now, I know you've had a long career in radio. You were at a classic rock station, right? You were a rock jock at one point.
I was a rock jock. That was 2000. I got that gig, which I worked so hard to get. I got that at the same time as I got Adam. And so I started within a week of both gigs, life-changing gigs, started within a week of each other. And then that was a morning show. So I was up at 3:30 a.m. and would finish my day around 3:30 p.m. because that's when Adam would finish. And so my whole life had sort of shifted, but I worked my ass off to get that gig. I was told so many times by so many agents, that job doesn't exist. They already found their co-host. And I had a little birdie in my ear saying, Gina, I'm a woman and they asked me to be the third chair. Don't listen to them. So I keep coming back. I know they're looking for a third chair. Mm-hmm. And I went in and begged. And that was, Adam talks about, screw birthdays. What's your achievement day? That's one of my achievement days because I was a dog with a bone trying to get that gig.
Well, congratulations. A lot of times, it pays to really put the time and energy in.
I have to go back to the Rock Jock thing. Did you have a cool radio name?
Yeah, it was Gina Grad.
Oh, that's really cool. Wow. Where'd you come up with that?
It's funny because two things make me laugh about that. A, everybody thinks my last name is fake. I can show you the Ellis Island paperwork. It
Nice.
wasn't. It had to be shortened because grad is like city, like Leningrad, Belgrade.
Yeah.
But we don't have the paperwork. It's just grad. But also, when I worked at another station earlier on, there was a big push to appeal to a more well, we didn't have the term then, but a more Latinx population because. You know, Latino radio and Chicano radio in LA it blows everybody else out of the water.
Yeah.
We don't even count them when it comes to our rating share because they blow you out of the water. So there was a push to get me to change my last name. And I said, that ain't happening. I have literally stripped down to my underwear and have been videotaped on a scale. I say yes to everything. I will not say yes to that because that means I have to remember all my lies because that's a backstory. I wouldn't even know where to go. And B, my father is in the industry and I'm not going to disrespect him by changing my last name.
Plus, it's a cool sounding name. I mean,
Yeah.
it already
Yes,
sounds,
it
you're
works.
blessed with already having a cool sounding name. We were talking to a guy named Dave Fenoy.
He's a
huge voice
big
actor.
video game
I know.
guy.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
his name. Of
He,
course.
he did a short stint early in his career on radio, and I asked him the same question. He had a cool name. His name was Billy Ocean, which there was the singer.
Yeah.
So he had to change
Get
it.
into
because
my car.
He had to change it because when the real Billy Ocean, the singer, became popular, then his radio name was screwed. Because
Yeah.
Wait a second. He became popular. He did this without the knowledge of the
he was
singer
Billy
Ocean.
Ocean first
He was the original
as a radio guy.
on the radio.
And then Billy Ocean got
God.
huge. And if I think I got that right. But yeah,
Yeah.
he had to change it.
That
And-
is hysterical. That's like Vanessa Williams having to be Vanessa L. Williams with SAG because somebody else already beat her to it.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
All right. You got another? What's your?
Yeah, one of yours. This is for you. I know you're a big charity person. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the charities that you're involved with?
Sure. I sort of stumbled into this amazing organization called Art of Elysium through the Children's Hospital Los Angeles. A friend invited me one night to, help sort clothes for one of their things. And I got to talking with the heads of the organization. I said, I want to do more. What do you got for me? What do you got for me? So I just kind of became their, I just say I'm their megaphone. And that's one of my big ones is twice a year, once for the girls, once for the boys. Let me explain this succinctly. They have self-esteem camp for the kids who are going through facial plastic surgery for either a genetic thing or, a surgery to fix another surgery. And that can be, obviously, I don't have to tell
Sure.
human beings, that can be hard, especially on kids.
Yeah.
So they have these amazing camps, how to look people in the eye, be confident, be yourself, how to answer questions, how to know when, someone's crossing your boundary with a question. And so the big end graduation finale for the girls is my favorite. It's a runway fashion show, and then they do a dance.
Oh, wow.
The best.
That's so
And then
great.
the boys get to go to a first run movie in, in one of the agents' buildings in Beverly Hills. And I red carpet interview them as they go in.
Oh, how cool.
And
terrific.
there are people cheering, asking for their autograph. I mean, it is the best. So I love doing that. But then we don't want them to go home empty handed. So I beg, borrow, and steal. They just get these big swag bags of toys and games. And one thing that I learned quickly was it's not just them who are affected. 9 times out of 10, they have siblings who go without because their brother or sister, it costs a lot of money.
Exactly. It's a major expense.
To keep them healthy. So we just want to load them up with toys and makeup and bracelets and soccer balls. And we go for it. So that is one of my favorite things in the world. Before COVID, I was so honored to do this. And I don't know if we can go back yet, but I would read in the library, the reading room at the Children's Hospital. And that was the best. There would be kids coming down there in all states and just needing to kind of get out of their rooms for an hour. And the people who run that reading room are geniuses. It's not a reading room. It's a spaceship, obviously. You turn the lights off, you get your flashlights, you buckle in, and we read crazy stories. It is the best.
Oh, that's
awesome.
I love working with kids. That's kind of my thing.
Well,
That's great.
That tells me that you are a special person, and congrats and good karma for you too.
Well, they say that, being selfless is selfish because it feeds my soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best. It's the best. I'm the one putting a smile on these kids' face. I'm lucky. And they are the people that run that facility are amazing because you walk in there and they're very, I mean this in the best possible way, stoic. And they say, look, there are going to be kids in all states coming in here. Your job, you're the adult. You don't cry. You don't make a face. You don't show pity. You don't look scared. You are here to make them forget about all of that crap while they're here. I don't want to see, you pull it together and you put on a show. And I was like, wow, that was harsh. And then I got it immediately.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm not there so they can coddle me.
Right.
I'm there to bring the fun. And I am so glad they have people who work there who get it and who really give the talk to us volunteers in advance because they are so right.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to keep you all day. We're just sort of getting down to the end of our list here. But
Sure.
I wanted to ask you.
I got to prep the news eventually for the show today.
Okay, well, let's not keep you all day. Where can people contact you? Are you on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff? I mean.
Oh, yeah. And I guess nobody likes my name that much because nobody was vying for it. So it's Gina Grad on Twitter, Gina Grad on Instagram, Gina Grad on Facebook. Last night, I put out what I want to do as a series of the Paula-logs. So I was thinking about Paula Abdul, who I adore her music. And I thought, what would this sound like if we weren't kidding and if it wasn't just a pop song? So I did Straight Up as a very, very serious monologue to my boyfriend in a breakup. And I would like to do many more of those. So the first installment is up on TikTok and on Instagram.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, we're going to have to check that out.
Well, that was my next thing to ask if you had something you wanted to promote. So that's
I
cool.
mean, that's just silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check it out. Also, I do a free, and it's really just more for me, food blog and an Instagram food blog called Grain Free Comfort Food. I'll give you 3 guesses what it's for.
Vinnie Tortorich inspired?
That's the one.
Yeah.
So when I started, Vinny started just a little bit before me on the show. So we kind of met and hit it off right away. And he really changed me. I mean, I don't know that he'd agree at this moment, but when I'm sticking to my sugar-free, grain-free life, I'm feeling better and looking better. And so it's kind of dedicated to him and just, all the recipes that we can make grain-free and still eat delicious stuff. I got a 6-year-old stepson in here who I don't do separate meals. It's not that dad and I get spaghetti squash or whatever and he gets chicken nuggets. I don't do separate meals. So I have to make it good. And if I stumble on a good one, I'll put it up on grainfreecomfortfood.com or on my Instagram, Grain Free Comfort Food, just for fun. Great. And the other one I do just for fun is an Instagram page called $1 Million S Box, which is $1 Million Shit Box, because we have been in the process of looking to buy a home in LA for a few years.
I know, it's insane. The prices are crazy. Who could afford that?
It is disgusting. I'm $1 million won't even get you in the door.
Wow. That is
so
insane.
You start at 1,617 or you stay home. And that's where the bidding starts. And these are for little cat boxes.
Yeah.
So when I'm on these sites and I find these teardowns that they're selling the dirt for $1.5 million, I got to post them because the rest of the country just doesn't believe their eyes.
Yeah, it's crazy. One of the things I'd like to know is, what are your long-term goals for your future? Do you want to do something? I know you want to do an animated series. Is there anything beyond that?
That's the big one. That would make my soul feel very fulfilled. Also, I have been kicking around an idea for years that I've actually never talked about publicly, but a spin. Let's just call it a spin on Loveline.
Oh, okay.
I've been working on, and frankly, just because I wouldn't be the smart one on there, waiting for the person I need to make herself available. But that's something that I would love to do as sort of a passion project with someone who has helped me tremendously mentally and emotionally.
Very good.
Very cool.
All right, before we let you go, can we get you to give us a close? I'll give you a little bit of info here. You can do any character you want. You can do Robin, you can do Sarah Palin, you can do Minnesota Mom, or Nancy Grace if you want.
By the way, Rick, you have realized that Minnesota Mom and Sarah Palin are essentially the same person?
I have, but I love them both. My girlfriend's from Minnesota, and she hates that accent. But they do have it. It's exaggerated for fun, but
it's exaggerated, but my mother-in-law has that accent.
There you go.
I love it.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. What the Denny Heckers is going on? I don't know.
Geez, come on.
All right. Do you want to do Nancy Grace?
Sure.
Okay, so you're going to say something to the effect of, you've been listening to Talking Voiceovers with our guest, Gina Grad. Have a great day, and thanks, Rick and Wes, something like that. Or you can make it up if you want. You can try it a couple times. If you screw it up, we'll just edit it out.
Perfect. Oh, God, this is the first time I've ever been given a second chance to do Nancy Grace.
You can do it multiple times. We've had major talents do it, and they screw it up every time, but they eventually get it, and we just edit it all out.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, here we go. Okay, everybody, I hope we all learned a lot today. We're all going to lock our doors and shut our window blinds because we got to keep those kids safe. You have been listening to Talking Voiceovers with Rick and Wes. I am Nancy Grace. On behalf of Gina Grad, y'all have yourselves a good day, and remember to lock those deadbolts.
I love it.
Nailed it.
Awesome.
Nailed it. That's why you're a pro right there.
One take. That is impressive.
You can't teach that.
Thank you. I got to tell you, this has been the best interview I've ever had.
Well, great. We had fun, and we hope you enjoyed yourself, too.
Thank you both so much for allowing me to do this.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
We'll see you later. Have a good day.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, Gina Grad. She was terrific. What a great guest.
Yeah, she's really just comes across as very sincere. Obviously beautiful on the outside, but beautiful on the inside.
Yeah, her love of kids and animals is apparent with all the work that she does with charities and such. And she does great impressions, too. Her Robin was excellent, and her Nancy Grace is killer, too.
Very talented, very quick.
Yeah.
Impressive.
And I love the Adam Carolla Show. So anyway, you can check out the Adam Carolla Show on Podcast One or wherever you get your podcast from. We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I'm Samantha Fagan, and you're listening to Talkin' Voiceovers. Be sure and subscribe to Talkin' Voiceovers. Hit like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Before you book your next voiceover demo, check out primodemos.com. You'll hear the difference.
Thanks for listening to Talkin' Voiceovers with Rick Sellers and Wes McCraw. Find us on Facebook or on the web at primodemos.com.